Today, we're going to talk about how your client's budget affects your pricing. This episode of Ask Joe is brought to you by the 10X Freelance Copywriter, where we answer questions like this one all the time in our private community. Francesca asks, is it better to have a base price than making that price higher once you find out the exact client needs, like research, validation, etc.? Or do you completely based on the client's budget? I know someone who said she always finds out their budget and prices way higher for higher end clients and lower for lower budgets. But that feels wrong to me, which it should. It should. Imagine if you are the client. I've actually been a person who got charged higher than a friend of mine who worked with the same freelancer. We were in a mastermind together. We were talking about what we pay freelancers for different things. And she mentioned the price she was paying. It was much lower than what I was paying for the exact same person. So know that your rates may come out and you don't want your client to feel like you've kind of taken them. All right. Like that's not cool. So the answer that we gave in the 10XFC private community, Amy, a coach in there, wonderful coach, Amy wrote back this. Your gut is spot on. The price is what you charge. It shouldn't change based on their budget. You shouldn't make it lower if they can't afford it, which is not fair to you, or higher because they can, which is not fair to them. You create a price based on your experience and skill set, and then find the sweet spot where the prices align with their needs and expectations. Exactly. So we have a calculator over on copyhackers.com. You should hit the link to go to it right now. It will walk you through how to establish a rough estimate for how to price based on your experience and what you have learned. So a lot of times people underestimate that they should, underestimate how much they charge because they think, well, I've taken all of this training, but I haven't actually done that much to practice this. I haven't had a lot of clients. I've only done like 2 projects that are similar to this. So I should basically give things away. But they've taken all sorts of training and they're discounting how critical it is to take that training versus someone who maybe shows up for a job, has no training in it, guesses their way through the job, and then says, okay, I've done that now, and then guesses again and again and again the many other times they do it. There's that idea that practice makes perfect, but practice makes permanent. If you're practicing wrong, it's just reinforcing. The more you do it, the worse, the worse it gets because you don't know what you're doing versus someone who's taken a bunch of training and then can go practice from a point of actually having a really good hypothesis for how to do the work so that the practice, the more you do that work, you're doing it right. You're getting stronger and stronger at it. It's basically like if you kick a soccer ball, you can keep kicking it and wonder why your toe hurts. And then along comes a coach who says, oh no, when you kick a soccer ball, you should kick just from the side of the foot or whatever. And suddenly now you know how to kick the ball. And every time you do it, you're going to get better and better at it. And that coach will help you through with things beyond just foot placement when you are kicking a ball. So keep that in mind when you are pricing, because it can be really easy to undervalue all of the training that you've taken. So with training in mind, your experience in mind, as well as what the client's looking for, and our calculator walks you through this as well, what kind of project they're looking for, as well as the work you're going to do. Sometimes a client shows up and then they're like, we have this survey we just ran that has all of this incredible information. Or they've worked with a messaging consultant who's really good at what they do, and they have like this big messaging playbook to hand over to you. So you might not have to do a lot of the earlier work, and you can kind of dive in really quickly to executing on a strategy that maybe you flesh out with the client. All that to say, you are going to charge different things based on different projects and on what's going on in those projects. So not just a project like 6 emails equals this much money. That's not it at all. There's so much more to it. So check out that calculator. But you're absolutely right that you should not charge based on the client's budget. You might want to factor that in during negotiation. I have had negotiation talks where I've presented my proposal. They're happy, but I'm quoting 28,000 and they've got 25,000 to spend on this. That's their budget. That's just the way it is. We're really close. Can we get there? And sometimes they could go up to the 28, but it's nice to negotiate. people want to be negotiated with. It's a good feeling if you guys are both, or you all are both, like on the same page with, let's get this to a good place where the client feels happy and I feel happy too. But that doesn't mean when you're negotiating that you're like doing more work or doing that same amount of work for less. The negotiation process is like, well, if you want to have $3,000 off this $28,000 budget or estimate that I have for you, let's see what we can pull out of the project. So what might not be as critical as you thought? And in many cases, that means removing a deliverable, such as you wanted 5 new pages for your website. One of those is your about page. We could tackle that later. So let's take it off the task list right now. I say about page randomly. I'm not saying that that's a thing that should just leave your project, but it's like one thing that could be taken off the task list. That way you are coming up with a price that is still going to be good for their budget, but it's not discounting what you do. So more about this inside the 10X Freelance Copywriter, but hopefully that's helpful for you. And hopefully it was helpful for Francesca as well. Thanks for watching. If you've got a question for a future Ask Joe, be sure to leave it in the comments. And if you would like to dive deeper into anything we covered today, head over to copyhackers.com or look for the links in the description. And of course, be sure to like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you never miss another Ask Joe.